Welcome to Music Over Matter. Today we are going to be discussing controversial rap albums. We're not talking controversial in terms of what the artist is rapping about. We're talking public opinion. I'm first going to explain how we came up with the controversial albums. I looked up on Reddit, Twitter, whatever, and looked up overrated, underrated, overhated. And when you are seeing the same albums on all three searches, I would consider that a controversial public opinion album, or just common knowledge of controversial. So let's get started.
We have 10 controversial albums. The first one we're going to start with is Jesus is King by Kanye.
Jesus King is a controversial album, no doubt. A lot of Kanye's, I feel, are public opinion wise, but especially Jesus King because it is literally a different genre. I see a lot of people say Jesus King is underrated. I see a lot of people say it's bottom of discog, trash. So what is your opinions?
I really enjoy Jesus is King. When it first came out, I didn't like it at all. Like, there was almost no track that I would go back to, but after a year or so, it did grow on me.
Yeah, I agree. It took me a while as well. One thing I do understand completely is when people do not like it because they are not Christian. Fair enough. Like, it's not going to connect with you, obviously, because he's talking about something that you don't connect with. But to call it bad is just plain incorrect. It's sonically like really good. It's better sonically than Vultures.
With that, would I say bottom of discog? With Vultures, no.
Absolutely not, yeah.
But without Vultures, it's still a good album, but it's still bottom of his discog just because Kanye albums are just like that much higher than it. There's tracks that I go back to. Some songs like the intro, Selah, has always been good. Follow God's always been good. Use This Gospel's always been good. But then there's some songs that grew on me like Water, Hands On.
Yeah, Close on Sunday. The hook is still, it doesn't annoy me as much as it used to, but the verse is insane.
Yeah, it's a super underrated verse on there.
Yeah, overall, Jesus King, I would agree that it is underrated.
I think it's aged well too.
In the Father, we put our faith.
Next controversial album, we have Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
Of course, since the Drake beef, every Kendrick and Drake project is under this insane microscope, and that's all everyone talks about, which is mildly annoying. Mr. Morale has always been somewhat controversial, especially when it first came out too. You would see both opinions. Oh, this is top 2 Kendrick, or this is easily bottom of Kendrick.
For my opinion, I think Mr. Morale is a very good album, but I do agree it is bottom of his discog. But it's also the same thing as Jesus is King, where you just have these masterpieces above it. This one album that may have some songs that you don't like as much as others on it just fall at the bottom.
There is one thing that I hate seeing about Mr. Morale, which is the idea that you have to be smart to understand Mr. Morale. Oh, you're too stupid to understand. It's not what it's about. Mr. Morale talks about a lot of deep stuff. A lot of people can still connect with what he's saying, even if you haven't directly went through something. With that said, what I do understand is that you do have to be somewhat more mature to understand everything he's like talking about and the importance of it. What I mean by that is a lot of hip hop listeners listen to songs just for their playlist. Mr. Morale has a few of those, but a lot of it is not. So if you're 13, 14, 15, you're not going to understand or connect with a lot of the stuff he's talking about on Mr. Morale. I think we'll see a resurgence of Mr. Morale. When it came out, the people that were in their early teens end up in their 20s. There might be a resurgence of Mr. Morale and an appreciation for it because you just understand it and can connect with what he's talking about better.
Yeah, and be more empathetic about what he's talking about.
Yeah, but there's a lot of songs on Mr. Morale that I just straight up do not like at all. Like Die Hard, Purple Hearts. Like, these songs are just actually bad in my opinion. But there also is United in Grief, Count Me Out, Rich Spirit, Savior, Mirror. These are top tier Kendrick. It just has, Mr. Morale just has a wide extreme of songs.
As an album full, it's very, very well thought out and put together. even if some of the songs aren't playlist songs, like Auntie Diaries. But in context with the album, it's very good.
Well, that's the thing, is albums are supposed to be listened to as albums. So, and if you watch our reactions, you understand how much we prioritize the actual album experience over a playlist experience. Yeah, Mr. Morale, I wholeheartedly disagree with anyone that says it is bad. It is, for a certain mood, one of those albums that you sit down and you have to be ready to listen to it.
Stop playing with me before I turn you to a song. Stop playing with me before I turn you to a song. I chose me, I'm sorry. I chose me, I'm sorry.
Next, we have For All the Dogs by Drake.
Every single Drake album, after, if you're reading this, it's too late, is controversial. That just also comes with the territory of being the biggest rapper on the planet. So public opinion on For All the Dogs, initially when it came out, trash, that sort of thing. But now I'm seeing a resurgence of people saying, oh, it's actually a classic. It's actually underrated. So what's your opinion?
I still don't like the album, just like I did on first listen.
Yeah.
And it's actually grown even colder for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Because some of the highlights on the song or in the album, I dislike. There is songs that I do like more now, though, than first listen. And I could see that in public opinion too, like a Virginia Beach, Slime You Out with SZA, that was a single, and 8 a.m. in Charlotte is just probably one of the best tracks on the entire album. But songs like I Don't Give a Fuck have just like aged really poorly, I feel like.
I think a lot of people look at these hits on the album. There's 23 tracks on this album, okay? Oh, it's a good album. It has Virginia Beach, First Person Shooter, 8 a.m. in Charlotte on it. That's 3 songs out of 23 tracks. The album experience is garbage.
Yeah.
The full listen is trash. To call it underrated is, in my opinion, straight up incorrect. I think it's properly rated. Most people do not like it, and for good reason.
We skiing out at Courchevel. Breaking news, they try to kill him, but the boy prevails. You bitches really get carried away.
If you're enjoying the controversial album discussion so far, be sure to scroll down and leave a like. And while you're down there, let us know in the comments what you think of each of these albums. And let's get back to it.
Next controversial album, we have Whole Lotta Red by Playboi Carti.
This might be the most controversial album of the 2020s, period. Of course, public opinion has shifted dramatically. It started out as like literally the most hated album I've ever seen in my existence. Now, a lot of people like it. It's grown on a lot of people. And some people are saying it's a classic, calling it a 10 out of 10.
When I first listened to the album, it was a whole lot of trash.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I hated it just because it's so much different. But then also it was a sort of a new sound. Like it was something to get used to, which you hear this sound a lot more now. I feel like it's aged sort of well because it's almost the catalyst.
And for me personally, Playboi Carti is one of those artists that take me a long time to enjoy the music.
I do enjoy the album a lot. There's really good highs, but then there's really low lows on the album too. Because it is a long album for what it is. I feel like it could have been shortened. Album as a whole, not bad.
But to call it a 10 out of 10 is insanity. I think the pendulum just swung. So it was all the way over here, whole lot of trash. Then it swung and it's all the way over here, 10 out of 10. It needs to come down to about here where it's a 7-ish out of 10.
Yeah.
You know?
It's the first of the month. Stop me.
Next, we have Relapse by Eminem.
This is an album that I feel like has gotten a lot less controversial over time, actually. I think a lot more people are enjoying it now. Even Eminem is on record saying it's his least favorite album.
Yeah, he looks back on it like fondly. Or
Nice.
not fondly.
It definitely changed. I've seen a lot of more people like enjoy Relapse, say it's underrated at this point, if you can even call an Eminem album underrated. What's your opinion?
I enjoy the album. It's pretty good. Like, do I go back to it that often? Not really, because I don't go back to Eminem that often. But Relapse is one of my top ones. I listen to a lot from him. It's like a triple disc album. There's really like no bad song that you'd skip on the album, honestly.
Almost a year ago now, good Lord, we made a video about our favorite hip hop albums of all time. And in that video, Relapse was number 10 for me. I'm going to be very careful how I talk about Relapse in this video because Relapse is easily my favorite Eminem album now. It is easily top 5 for me all time. So I'm going to try to keep my bias out of it as much as possible, but I'll agree with public opinion. Definitely with Eminem's discog, very underrated. I could see why when it first came out, it wasn't liked all too much. The accents and the things he's talking about could turn some people off. For me, 0 skips. I think every song on Relapse has its own reason. it is way different production, way different flows, and way more creative than Eminem's done, right? But there are still some songs that I can definitely see people not liking. Insane. That song's a hard listen. But there's also some of my favorite Eminem songs ever on it. Like My Darling, Medicine Ball, Must Be the Ganja, Crack a Bottle. So overall, I just think Relapse is absolutely insane. Is it a long listen? Yeah. To me, I don't care if an album's a long listen if every song I'm enjoying. So our opinion in relation to public opinion, people should give it Relapse a chance.
Next, we have Birds in the Trap.
I don't know why Reddit and Twitter like this album so much or like discussing this album so much. But if you look up overhated rap albums, underhated rap albums, Birds is on every single one. I see Birds is overrated. There's only a couple good songs on it. Birds is extremely underrated. It's actually top 2 in his discog. It's better than Utopia and Astroworld.
I personally, when I listen to Birds in full, I'm perfectly fine with it. But there's a lot of songs that I'm not taking away from it. It's a lot of the subject matter of the songs. Like, I think it's just so boring compared to a Rodeo or an Astroworld. Like Coordinate or Guidance. Those songs may sound good, but there's nothing you can like take away from.
Yeah, it's definitely pop rap. Like you said, listening to the album, it's a fun experience, but you don't, like you said, get much out of it. I think it is still bottom of discog. It's better than Al Faro, but I would say Days Before is better than it. But Birds has insane highs. The Ends, Goosebumps, and Pick Up the Phone, which are just insane tracks. But then you have a First Take, and it's like the worst Travis song you've ever heard in your life. With the amount it's talked as underrated, it's almost overrated at this point.
I'm soaring. How the hell did I get in this space? 4 in the morning. Hell nah, don't discriminate. Drinking on clean, sanitized. After 6 with the frog.
Next, we have Cherry Bomb by Tyler, the Creator.
I don't see this album get talked about much, but I feel like it was important still to throw it in. It is pretty controversial. I see a lot of people not like it. I see a lot of people like it.
Yeah, I see majority of people dislike. Yeah, I really enjoy the album in full. There's a few songs that are some of his weakest in his discog, but it is not bottom of his discog at all. I mean, a song that I don't like is the title track Cherry Bomb. That one is just like distortion and it's so shit. But then you have songs like Find Your Wings, Two Seater, Fucking Young / Perfect. Some of these songs are like beautiful. And then you have Smuckers, of course. Jeez. Yeah. In previous videos where I've described Yeezus, where it's this like industrial abrasiveness, but it's also beautiful, I feel like Cherry Bomb also falls into that same spectrum. Yeah, for example, you have the first half of Blow My Load and then the second half, which I think is called Quartz or something like that, which is just some of the best ambient something Tyler has ever made. Yeah.
I don't listen to Cherry Bomb much. I don't listen to Tyler much, period. I don't have much to say on it. I would give it another shot for people because, again, it has the abrasiveness that is now popular.
You see my shit is
Next, we have Lovesick by Don Toliver.
Public opinion on Lovesick is it's bottom of discog. I see some people say like it does have its highs. I see a lot. What's your opinion? I have a weird one, I think. So.
Yeah, I feel like I have a weird one too. I don't go to it a lot. Like I don't go back to a lot of the songs because it is like a weird listen because how much bottom of discog songs he has on it. He has a lot of not that good songs.
Yeah, unfortunately, Lovesick kind of disappointed me long term because of the way he advertised it as a concept album.
It's just an album full of love songs.
Yeah, it's a collection of love songs. I still enjoy Let Her Go, of course. Like, we had that as 2023 Song of the Year. Private Landing, I know you don't like that song that much, but that song I love that song. But yeah, other than that, it just doesn't hit. Like, there's no doubt in my mind it is bottom of discog.
I still wouldn't say it's a bad album, though, but it is mid.
And it also disappointed me a lot. There's no Travis feature except on the deluxe. But it's like, that's annoying. There's a lot missing. There's no Baby Keem feature. I feel like there's a lot of connections Don Toliver made throughout his other albums, and he just like, fuck that. I'll just put Kali Uchis on it, which is fair.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but it's like there's a certain vibe you want from a Don Toliver album, and Lovesick just like did not hit. So our opinion in relation to public opinion, I would say I agree. Bottom of discog.
Yeah.
It doesn't have much going for it.
Next controversial album, we have Dawn FM by The Weeknd.
Yeah, public opinion's weird on this one. People say it's trash. I see that a lot. But I also see a lot of it's actually severely underrated. It's better than After Hours.
Overall, though, I mean, I love Dawn FM. There's a few songs, of course, that are not as good as others on it, but I do like it over After Hours. There's like a lot of new ideas on it for the Weeknd, I feel like, that I really enjoy.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think Dawn FM wipes the floor with After Hours. After Hours has grown off of me like crazy. I don't even know if I'd have an After Hours top 5 Weeknd. Dawn FM, easily top 5 Weeknd. I think there's a lot that the Weeknd did really well. He completely dove into the synth pop route, but added new ideas to the synth pop that like worked really well. How Do I Make You Love Me? Best Friends. Is There Someone Else? I go out of my way to listen to these songs. Sacrifice. Don't get me wrong, After Hours has a lot on it, like some very high tracks like Faith. And yeah, public opinion, as it continues, I think I see a lot more people say that Dawn FM is really good. Before we play Best Friends, it is so weird to me that this song is not explicit, because if you listen to the song, you know what it's about.
And last controversial album, we have Zoo by Denzel Curry.
Unfortunately, Denzel Curry doesn't get talked about as much as he deserves. He should be in that same conversation as J. Cole. Every single one of his albums should be hyped like theirs are, but Zoo is the one that kind of is the black sheep.
Zoo is just another amazing album that is in Denzel Curry's discog.
Yeah.
It's very different from a Taboo and a Melt My Eyes, but it's just a totally different concept and sound that you don't hear on either of those projects.
Yeah, I think it was just when it came out, people were coming off of Taboo. They're expecting this insanely deep cut, and then they get a Zoo, which is like the Floridian, just like hard ass crazy stuff with like Ricky and Speedboat. As time goes on, that just shows that Denzel is capable of doing whatever sound you want. He could give you a Taboo or a Melt My Eyes, but he can give you a King of the Mischievous South or a Zoo. It's a short, quick listen, and every song is good. And if you listen to Denzel or you've heard the album, bro, Carol Mart's on this album. That's a bad song. You would be incorrect. If you don't like Carol Mart, unsub. I think Zoo over time is just going to get more and more liked. Hopefully, as Denzel continues to get more popular and get the respect he deserves, I think people will really like Zoo. All right, that sums up our discussion about controversial albums. Of course, let us know in the comments what you think of each of these controversial albums, and if you want to see us discuss more. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.